Welcome to Two Souls Podcast, a podcast to shift, impact, empower, and disrupt your consciousness, ultimately allowing you to thrive in this human experience. Now, here are your hosts, Amber Megenhauser and Angela Blaha. All right, good morning, Amber.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. What would we like to transform today?
Well, I have this question, I guess, that my ears have been ringing like crazy lately. And I am wondering if you can just help me figure out what this is and why it's really bad right now.
Okay, so a little bit more information is like when did it start and what did you notice when it started? Like how have you been experiencing
uh
life?
it's really been intense like the last probably week and a half. Maybe 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, I just had like the hugest aha moment right now.
So last week we talked about this energy that was in your basement and how that energy just how it represented or mirrored your life and the things that you have experienced throughout your life. And when you were ready to transform that energy in your basement disappeared. So, what is your aha around all of that with the ringing in your ears?
I feel like I'm working on a lot of things right now just to embrace my own abilities, and I feel like after I transformed that, it was kind of part of me being more open to some stuff, and it's really just my ears opening up so I can hear other things.
Yes, exactly. So that's so let's go a little bit deeper into that though, so that so that when we have these kinds of physical they're not really ailments, but they're physical awarenesses, like the knee hurting from before, and lots of people have a lot of back issues. Lots of people have ringing in the ear, and it's becoming a little bit more common now because we really are being quantumly pushed. I want to say to like open up to our own intuition and to our own into the truth of who we are, or the truth of what's happening with humanity right now, or the truth of the quantum world. Like, how do we take that information and apply it to our lives? um, so when we have these kinds of physical awarenesses, it sometimes it I'm going to say most of the time, it doesn't mean that there's something physically wrong. It's just something that we're opening up to. Is that your experience?
Yeah,
Okay, so what
yes,
are you opening up to? What are
100%.
you trying to hear?
I feel like there is different, I guess, different aspects of myself, different languages that um, I am, so to say, downloading for things I'm working on to move forward with who I want to be.
So, what are some of the things that you're working on? Like, you have a real resistance to stating what it is you're working on. Why is that?
um, I don't know. I have been I've been doing this for, a while now, but it's definitely gone deeper since I went to your retreat, and I've really seen like who I am and what I can be. I love helping people, and I know that I have multiple different tools to be and help people in a natural way. And so I'm really working on being a natural healer and helping people that way, on multiple different levels. I am actually taking a class in August that I cannot wait for. It is going to be absolutely amazing, and it's going way deeper with myself and being able to help others on a soul level instead of a physical level like my essential oils.
Right.
The
So
minute I
when we
took this
have,
class,
go ahead.
the minute I signed up for this class, like that's how you know when something is meant for you. Like it is so right. Like the minute I hit send and signed up for this class, there was a complete shift in my whole body. Like everything around me changed. I was like, whoa, that was super awesome. So, like, I know this is part of who I am and going forward. And so I'm really embracing that right now. And I feel like after we talked about the the thing in my basement, um, like these ears have just been, and I didn't realize it till you asked me that today, how long ago it started. And I'm like, oh crap, it actually started like right after that. So that completely makes sense. I think it's just opening up all those more natural abilities, then that's what it is. So
Yeah,
that's what I've
we
been working
we
on. I'm Go ahead.
so we have a lot of fear, right? Like when we open up to our own natural self, like we've been programmed to have a lot of fear about that. And as a human race right now, we're working through this expansion of consciousness, and the fear programming is super, super intense because you know, we have this programming going right now that literally is telling us to be afraid of ourselves, that, death is evident and, um, well, all those kinds of things. But when we open up to our own natural, real self, the ability to hear seen and unseen things, the ability to see seen and unseen things, the ability to know things without actually having been taught it, or we just have these instantaneous knowings, the ability to instantaneously heal, the ability to instantaneously create a new self, right, a new human self. Like we have these tools at our fingertips, and when we're starting to open up to them, we will sometimes have physical awarenesses. That's what the ringing in the ears for you is you're opening up to hear the unheard things of um, that we can't actually see. And so, yes, we have fear around that because we've been programmed that that's not natural, but it actually is our natural self. Um, so when we go into these depths, though, like we have a real resistance to state it, because when we state something, it makes it actually real. And if we have these deep, deep programmings in us that say that's not real, it can't be, the ego will defend that until the nth degree. So we need to start stating our natural abilities, our natural way of like being in the world. We do have the power to see the unseen. We do have the power to hear the unheard. We do have the power to know the unknown. We do have the power to instantaneously heal. And when we can actually state it, it makes it become real.
Yes. So is that why have such a problem stating that? Just all
Yeah,
the
you're just,
programming I have.
well, yeah, because, there we have fear in that. We have, because we have, history of humanity has taught us that when we do express our natural selves, there's something that's probably going to happen to you. But if we're actually moving through this conscious shift that's happening right now. And we're not going to wipe ourselves as a human race this time. We have to become very confident in that. I feel like we're on the verge of creating human, a new human within ourselves that says, no, this is really who I am. This is my natural self. And I'm going to, no matter what the cost, I'm going to express it. But maybe there won't be a cost. You see, because we have histories telling us over and over and over that if you actually express your natural self, that there's a cost, but maybe there won't be a cost. Maybe that's the shift this lifetime, that we can actually express ourselves and be our natural soul self, because we are in a struggle. We are in a battle of souls here, of the human soul. If we can actually ignore the human loops, or the human patterns of time over time, and the history of what happens to us when we express our natural selves. If we can actually get rid of that fear and start stating it, and a majority of us actually do it, then there has to be a transformation.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting here, and I'm like, come on, influencers, let's influence this shift in consciousness. This is one of the avenues of how we're going to do it, is we're just going to say, no, we're going to band together, and we're going to say, look, this is who we really are. We don't have to live in those fear programs any longer, and we don't have to believe in them. And that's the past of humanity. It's not the future of humanity.
Yeah. I I definitely understand that. And when everybody comes together like that too, it's so powerful. Like you can feel how powerful it is and how amazing it is.
Yeah, because, humans, even though we're individualized in a body form, we are not individualized in consciousness. So that's where the whole theory of, the one theory, the holistic kind of theory. But within that consciousness are multiple experiences of consciousness. Like the quantum world doesn't exist outside of this consciousness, it's just a stream within the consciousness, because that's what creates a world of what we call duality here, but it's just all these experiences of consciousness. And where do we want our consciousness to reside? Like, in order to create a new human, you have to make a conscious decision in this third um, dimension that says, I want to, play in the quantum stream of consciousness as a physical form. I mean, there should be no fear there. It's just we're working through these experiences of consciousness, but we have these programs which are experience of consciousness, right? That get created, that we pay more attention to than our own natural God self, which that right there should be illegal.
Completely agree. Honestly, until I met you, I that's exactly who I was. I was, I think people, we're just taught go to work, go home, have supper with your family, go to bed, and you do the same thing all over again. And when you actually tune into yourself and what your soul needs, what your body needs, to actually feel like you are completely whole, like it's it's mind-blowing, to be honest with you. And I think that people just have no idea like how great it can be when you are literally in tune with all of your bodies, not just your physical body, but your mental, your body, your emotional body. Like things, when you know yourself so well, Like you just don't get worked up about a lot of things. You're just like, oh, okay, it just and you're okay with yourself. Like you don't seek other people to make you happy because you're so happy within yourself that you know this is who you are, this is where you're going, and life is great.
Yeah, exactly. Here's here's how the consciousness works. When you are programmed to be that kind of zombie-ish, just go to work, just go home, mind your own business, blah blah blah. It's really easy to dominate and control you, right?
For sure.
When we are in
Yes.
that robotic zombie kind of state, like it's total programming and it's total domination and control. Now, this should piss every one of us off because I do not like being dominated and controlled because it takes away my ability to think, it takes away my ability to feel, it takes away my ability to understand and hear my own natural gifts and abilities. When we open up into something else, it becomes very hard to dominate and control us because we know who we are. We know that we have these amazing powers of the God self. We know that we have these like thoughts that cannot be infiltrated into fear, right? Like there's a level of confidence when you become the numinous self. There's a level of confidence that cannot be perpetrated. When that happens, it
Yes,
we become
absolutely.
very right. We become very very hard to control us. Now, the lower densities of consciousness don't want to see that because they're all about domination and control. They're all about creating fear factors to keep us in that domination and control. When we open up into the self, well, the game changes. We release ourselves from the programming, we release ourselves from the domination and control, and we actually start listening to the God self, to our soul self. And we start following that. And when that happens, like that transformation that internal transformation, which is why we've been really like telling people just know and understand who you are, like listen to your soul self, stop following the ego. The ego is just programmed. um Start being and listening and like being confident in who you are. That shift, that transformation happens, and it becomes a problem. We become a problem for the domination and control levels of consciousness. Now, they don't want us to be our own selves, right? So, again, they create death factors, or they create, like traumatic events, or they create, things to create more fear within us, like the pandemic. It's a fear pandemic. And
Yep.
it's creating a whole new level of programming. And so when we start to look at these kinds of programs and how they actually work, when you become numinous, you can see that. And you can like pull yourself out of that kind of level of consciousness, out of that stream of domination and control, and it creates a lot of fear for that for the dominators and the controllers of the universe, because they want you to
Yeah.
be controlled. It's easy.
Right.
Yeah, it's easy to have control over other people. It's really easy. But I think that that's where we are in this shift in consciousness. It and we are literally in a battle for the soul, literally in a battle for the soul, because I feel like on a big conscious, universal kind of scale, kind of a picture here, that we cannot extinguish souls. That's just out of the question. But I feel like humanity has taken it so far to the nth degree that that actually could be a possibility if we continue down this track of domination and control. That there is a possibility of extinguishing that soul, and if a soul, and if that actually were to happen, well, it can't happen. Let's just put it that way, because we can't extinguish a soul, for God's sakes. But I think that that is part of the domination and control factor, that they're like it's an experiment. Like, what would happen, right? So, which is why we're in this shift of
Yeah.
consciousness, and it's really why we are pushing so stinking hard to know and understand your real self, your God self, your soul self, and to stop listening to these other programs, to this fear factor program.
Yep. I completely agree. And on our season one too, like go back and listen to that because there is a lot of tools there to help you get out of that fear programming.
Yes, we have to like push this um, as a conscious being, like a pretty. I consider myself to be a pretty highly conscious being. I have the ability to see the big picture, the universal picture of what's really going on. And it's maddening for me. Like, I get so stinking frustrated because why can't we see this? Like, why can't we pull ourselves together enough? Because, we've talked about soul fractures before, and how when we're so split as a soul self, through our experiences and our traumas, that it's really hard to pull ourselves together. I get that. I mean, I've pulled many, many soul shards into this one experience, this lifetime. I know how much work it takes, but we have to continue to do it. And honestly, has to
You do,
become,
because
yeah, it has to become the main thing that we do this lifetime.
do you think some of the reason people don't want to do it is they're just scared of themselves and how powerful they really are?
Oh, absolutely. When
Because
your
I think that's
soul
part
is,
of my.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was
No,
just going
you
to
go
say,
ahead.
because that was part of my experience. I was completely scared of who I was and who I was going to become. And it's that fear of the unknown. But after I just embraced it and accepted who I was, my whole world changed.
Yeah, well, we're programmed to fear ourselves, right? We're programmed to fear our own power. Because just think about that for a moment. If we can instantaneously heal, well, gee, who could we create? What could we be? How expanded can
Right?
we be as a human being? Right? That's what this whole experience of being a human is, or at least it was back in the day of creation of it, was how far can we expand a form, a physical form? How far can we expand that being, that physicalness, into consciousness? Well, then what happened was we became colonized, of course, and the programming started. Because this is kind of a free for all world that we live in, this Earth
Yeah.
thing. It's a free for all. It's a duality based free for all, and because of the duality, which in the beginning of the creation of humanity, there had to be enough freedom for expansion. And unfortunately, the expansion became dense instead of high vibration. It became a very low vibration or a low frequency, which means that it slowed down so much that programming can actually be instated here. So now we're trying to beef up the programming or beef up the frequency, the vibrations, and like there's a ton of tools out there that can help us do that, but we're afraid of the tools even. Like Healy, for example, like that is a frequency tool to get you connected. Like that's the whole stinking purpose of that tool. Yet, how many of us have, fear that we're going to get too connected, that we're not worthy of being the God self. We're not worthy, and that's a programming, right? Not worthy of knowing and
Yeah.
understanding our true nature because we've seen it as evil before. When no, domination and control is what the evil factor is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think
there's
that's
tons of
just it
tools.
though. That's exactly. Go ahead.
Well, there's just tons of tools, and we've talked about that, a lot of tools through season one. So, there's no more excuses. We have the tools. Now it's a conscious decision.
Yep. Don't be afraid of it because it's amazing on this side.
Yes. Well, it's so free. But again, freedom, we've talked about that in season one as well, is freedom is scary all within itself because we don't really know how to be free because of all the old programs.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I say, listen to. So now what happens? Now what's happening to your ears? Are they still buzzing?
No, they're not. They go in spurts though. So
Yeah.
now that I
Okay.
know
So
exactly what it is, and just know I'm upgrading.
well, you're opening to the unheard. So when it happens, when you hear the buzzing sounds, like ask yourself, okay, well, what is it that I need to hear right now? What is it that I can hear right now? And what can I expand into hearing? See, now you're pulling all the past, present, and future into one thing, and you're actually allowing yourself to um, hear the past, hear the present, and hear the future. Hmm.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah. So don't try not to have any fear. If it's not your own soul self that's speaking to you, though, be sure to ask, who is this? What do you want? What's the message? And use your discernment, like what's real for you, what's true for you. Don't just, because there's a lot of energies out there that are trying to pull us into some sort of weird programming by fear. So, because we're opening up to our natural abilities, they can see that those beings, those dominators and controllers, can see that and will try sometimes if we're not real confident in who we are. They will try to persuade us or to invade us. So, if it's not your own soul self speaking to you, then be sure you're getting all the truth about who that is, who that being is.
Okay.
Because here, because in our natural abilities, like we open up to the consciousness. Well, everybody and everything exists in the consciousness, and of course, they have access to our natural abilities. I mean, it's not like it's a hidden factor, right? Do we need to
Yeah.
protect
Yeah.
ourselves? No, you need to get really freaking confident in who you are. That is your protection. You need to understand the depth of who you are and to be willing to be the God self. That's your protection. When you become that, nothing out there, no denser vibration wants to even communicate with you because they know that you're in your full power. And they can't penetrate the full power. So they leave you alone.
This is so awesome. Can't wait for this
So
to
be
happen
confident
again.
in
I am.
Yeah.
I have definitely gained that. I feel like I, yeah. After Numinous, there was a big shift with my confidence, and well,
Hmm.
it has really gained a lot over the last 2 years. But yeah, after Numinous, I knew it's like I left there and I knew exactly who I was. I knew exactly where I was going, and I love it.
Yeah. Super. So be the confident person that you are. Know the soul self. Hear what the soul self is. You literally speaking to yourself. That's all that it is. It's not in any other voice. It's not in any other language. No, it's you literally speaking to yourself. Now, the ego has that same ability, but the ego operates in fear and the soul operates in confidence, knowings. Like there's just a knowing, and that creates a standard. This is the knowing. This is the truth. Hmm. If there's any kind of doubt or worry or anxiety, that's the ego. That's the portion of us that allows domination and control. Those are the clues to know if you're in your soul self or to know if you're in your ego self, which allows the domination and the control factors. The soul never allows domination and control. Never. It's just knowing.
Yeah,
You just know that this is you.
yeah. I've definitely experienced that a few times, so I get that. I'm like,
Hmm.
nope, you're not allowed in
Yeah.
here.
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Super. Well, thanks
Well,
everyone for joining
thank
in with us this week.
yes, thank you. We appreciate everyone who joins in and listens. We have this has been such an amazing experience, and we would love to take any questions. If anybody has them, please feel free to email me at ambermake2@icloud.com. Until next time, from our soul to yours, have a super fantastic day.